Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is the show where we take your sources, articles, research notes, and really dig into them to pull out the key insights. Today, we're embarking on a deep dive into the really fascinating and sometimes, let's be honest, confusing world of artificial intelligence chatbots. Specifically, we're looking at this intriguing issue that crops up when Google's Bard and OpenAI's GPT give you completely different answers to the same question. So our mission here is to explore why these differences happen, what that really means for truth, for information in this, digital age we're in, and most importantly, how you can navigate this landscape effectively. Okay, so to really get a handle on this, we need to understand the contenders, right? The personalities involved. First up, we've got Bard. That's Google's experimental conversational AI.
Right, powered by their LaMDA model,
LaMDA.
language model for dialogue applications. It's specifically designed for, well, natural conversation flow.
Okay. And Bard's goal is what?
A
Fresh
fresher.
approach.
Yeah, a fresh, creative, open-ended kind of conversation.
Yeah.
And the key thing, its responses are grounded in Google's huge data ecosystem.
Meaning it uses live search results.
Exactly. It integrates real-time search results, so it often emphasizes what's new, what's widely discussed on the web right now.
Okay, so that's Bard. Then in the other corner, GPT. We're talking GPT-4 specifically here, right? OpenAI's model.
Yes, GPT-4. It's really state-of-the-art, known for much better reasoning and factual accuracy compared to older versions.
And its strength is generating human-like text.
Absolutely. Based on patterns learned from these enormous curated data sets, books, websites, tons of text data.
Not necessarily live web data like Bard, then.
Generally, no. It's more drawing from a vast, relatively static snapshot of information it was trained on. Though there are versions or plugins that can access the web now, the core model relies on that training data.
And it's known for being versatile. Writing, coding.
Hugely versatile. Writing assistance, coding help, creative tasks, you name it. It's a real workhorse. So Bard is plugged into the live web. GPT pulls from this deep, static knowledge base.
Okay, hearing about those different approaches really sets the stage for the core problem we're looking at. What happens when they disagree? Because users, experts, they've all noticed this trend.
Yeah.
You ask the same question, maybe about a fact, a historical event, a scientific concept.
You get conflicting answers, sometimes wildly different.
Exactly. So, okay, let's unpack this. Why? Why does this happen?
Well, it's fascinating, really. Fundamentally, these differences come down to a few key things.
Like what?
Like you mentioned, they're trained on different data sets, completely different collections of information.
Okay.
They also use distinct architectures, different ways of processing that information. And crucially, they seem to have different internal priorities when they generate an answer.
Different priorities. What does that mean in practice?
Well, let's take GPT. It generally aims to be helpful and truthful based on its training data, but it has this known limitation, often called hallucination.
Hallucination. Sounds serious.
It means it can confidently generate information that's just wrong, incorrect, or even completely fabricated.
But it's not doing it on purpose.
No, not at all. It's not trying to mislead. It's just so good at recognizing patterns that it sometimes predicts a plausible-sounding answer that happens to be factually incorrect. It fills in the gaps, sometimes incorrectly.
Okay, and Bard.
Bard, pulling in that live data, might prioritize, say, relevance or maybe user engagement over strict accuracy sometimes.
So because it's on the live web.
Exactly. It can unfortunately pick up misinformation floating around online. Or it might just misunderstand the context of the question. It's this constant trade-off, really.
Yeah.
Real-time information versus built-in factual consistency.
Right. So neither is lying in the human sense. There's no intent.
Precisely. That's the technical reality. Bard, GPT, they aren't conscious. They don't intend anything, let alone deception.
They're just predicting words.
Essentially, yes. Generating responses based on probability. Which word, which phrase is most likely to come next, based on the patterns in their massive training data.
So their truthfulness isn't a moral choice. It's just a reflection of the data they learned from.
Exactly. A function of the patterns. So when GPT gives you a wrong fact, we call it a hallucination, a convincing fabrication based on those patterns.
And when Bard gets it wrong.
It's often because it echoed some bad info from the web, maybe a bias in its data, or it just didn't quite grasp the nuance of your question. It's struggling to filter the noise, perhaps.
The impact, that's the crucial part for the user, right?
Absolutely critical.
Mm-hmm.
Because people do take these answers at face value.
And if the answer is wrong.
Then misinformation can spread unintentionally. Someone asks a question, gets a confident but wrong answer, shares it, and there it goes.
Which really highlights why we need to understand these limits.
Precisely. And why verifying facts independently, especially for important stuff, is just vital. You wouldn't want to make a big decision based on a confident AI hallucination.
Let's try and make this more concrete. Maybe look at some real-world examples. Cases where Bard and GPT actually clashed. It could really show how they filter information differently. I think I heard about one involving capital cities.
Yes, that's a good simple one.
Yeah.
Someone asked, what is the capital of Australia?
Okay. Standard trivia question.
GPT usually answers correctly, Canberra.
Right.
But Bard, in some documented tests, came back with Sydney.
Sydney. But that's the common misconception.
Exactly. It highlights how Bard might lean into popular, widely repeated errors found online, maybe because they appear frequently, even if they're wrong.
Whereas GPT sticks to the fact learned from its presumably more vetted training data.
It seems that way in this case, yes.
Yeah.
It relies on the factual pattern it learned more heavily.
Okay, what about something more complex?
Right. Take a query like, explain the cause of the 2008 financial crisis.
Okay, much more nuance needed there.
GPT often gives a pretty detailed, nuanced answer. It'll mention subprime mortgages, risky banking, regulatory failures, a structured explanation hitting key points.
And Bard.
Bard's answers were sometimes more general, maybe hitting the main points, but occasionally omitting some key factors that experts consider crucial, perhaps reflecting the more simplified explanations you often find online.
Interesting. Almost like a difference between a textbook answer and a quick web summary.
Kind of, yeah. And another one, who invented the telephone?
Alexander Graham Bell, right. Or is it more complicated?
Well, that's the thing. GPT usually answers Alexander Graham Bell, but sometimes also mentions others, like Elisha Gray. It acknowledges the historical controversy, the nuance.
Okay.
Bard's answers, in some tests, tended to oversimplify, focusing just on Bell. Again, maybe reflecting the most common, simplified narrative found online, rather than the full, complex history.
That's fascinating. Those examples really show how the different designs lead to different results. So, pulling back to the bigger picture, what does all this mean? For us as users, for the companies, Google and OpenAI.
Well, connecting it to the bigger picture, it really underscores the huge responsibility that comes with creating and deploying these powerful AI tools.
You think the companies are aware?
Oh, absolutely. Both Google and OpenAI are actively researching ways to cut down on these hallucinations to improve accuracy across the board.
How? What are they working on?
Key areas are things like more transparency about the AI's limitations, better user education like what we're doing now, hopefully, and just continuous refinement of the models themselves, training them better, fine-tuning them.
And the competition helps.
Definitely. The competition between Bard and GPT and others entering the space actually pushes innovation. It forces them all to get better, which ultimately should benefit users like you with more reliable tools.
But some might say it's not fair to put all the burden on the user to fact-check. Are the developers doing enough to build in safeguards?
That's a fair point, and they are working on it. Beyond just model refinement, there's a lot of focus on techniques like grounding.
Grounding.
Yeah, basically trying to tie the AI's answers more directly to specific verifiable sources. So the AI could potentially show you why it's saying something.
Ah, like citations.
Sort of, yes. But even with those improvements, the advice for you, the consumer, remains the same for now. Approach AI answers critically.
Especially for important things.
Especially for important decisions, yes. Fact check. Remember, it's a tool. A powerful one, but still a tool. Its value depends on how skillfully and critically you use it.
That's really insightful. Okay, looking ahead then, what's next? What can we expect in the future for AI, specifically regarding this problem of conflicting answers and accuracy?
Well, we can expect quite a bit of advancement, actually. Things like multimodal models are on the horizon.
Multimodal, meaning?
Models that can understand and process information from different types, like text, images, even video, all together.
How would that help with accuracy?
It could allow the AI to cross-reference information across different formats. If it reads something in text, maybe you can verify it against an image or data in a chart. This could lead to a more robust understanding and potentially fewer errors or conflicting answers.
Okay, that makes sense. What else?
Improved grounding techniques, as I mentioned. Getting better at citing sources reliably. And some experts are even predicting hybrid AI systems.
Hybrid systems like mixing Bard and GPT.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
Systems that might combine the strengths of different models. Imagine leveraging Bard's real-time access and GPT's deep reasoning, perhaps, to get a more balanced, accurate response. Almost like having a panel of AI experts consult each other.
Wow. Okay, so the future might see these systems getting much better at handling truth and consistency.
That's the hope and the direction things are moving. But until we get there, well, the takeaway remains.
What's that?
Remember, AI doesn't lie, not in the human sense, but it absolutely can be wrong. Use it wisely.
AI doesn't lie, but it can be wrong. That's definitely a powerful thought to keep in mind as you use these tools every day. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Stay curious.